two fantastic guests in the studio with me, and they're going to be talking to me about something very interesting. And I want you to keep an open mind. Before some of you say to me, "Big, get out of here." No, we're not going to do that. We're going to listen to what they have to say. And it's very interesting stuff because we've been talking off air. And I think you would want to turn up the volume for this. I have Ifeanyi Ajuluchukwu in the building. Did I get it? Yay! Hi. Yay. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This one I'm very nervous about because she told me that, look, you better get this name right or you'll be in trouble. I have Olu-Arolowo in the building. Did I get it? Somehow? A little bit? Yep, yes, thank God. That's all for myself. Hallelujah, somebody. Welcome to Cool FM. How are you guys this morning?
We're doing well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
So what are you here to talk about today?
So we're here to talk about the APC Manifesto.
Okay.
The leader, Tinubu, and the team have put together a very robust plan to move us out of poverty, to move us towards the directions we need to be. As we all know, the country is not where we planned for it to be when we started this journey 8 years ago. But the foundations have been laid, and it's time to now begin to put in the building blocks. The manifesto in general has 4 pillars. They cover safety and security, because we all know that life and property security is very important. They cover things that strengthen and enable rapid development. We want to grow double digits over the next 8 years. The minimum target is about 6%, which is twice population growth. Okay, we want to put in place the foundation for diversification of the economy out of oil and gas. But you know how it is even in the Bible when God told Moses, "What is in your hand?" So we use what we have to start, and then we get better. So what we have today is oil and gas. The oil we've tapped a little bit, but we are not doing the things we need to do. The gas we haven't even began to scratch the surface. So it's how do we take these things and make them better, become more efficient, remove all the waste, become the country we should be, and then diversify as we do these things for the future. We also talk about reviving the economy and improving lives through things like good health care, good education, job creation, the socioeconomic issues that really affect the common man in Nigeria. And that's why we're here.
Okay. I feel like that's a lot. And with this, look, I already have a lot to talk about and a lot to ask. And you said something very interesting, that obviously we started for the past 8 years, and you with this new person, you want to sort of put in the building blocks to get things to where they're supposed to be. But you know when like you break up with someone, it's like you go and you talk to your friends. I'm like, my God, my life is over. I thought we had something. I named our children. And then they're like, so what happened? So yes, I mean, we all started this thing. Then what happened? What went wrong? Would you say? What has gone wrong? Or do you even think anything has gone wrong?
Things have gone wrong, but things have gone wrong globally.
Okay.
We live in a global world where there are issues that affect everybody. COVID happened, for example, and COVID set the world back years. No economy survived COVID. Now, extractive economies like ours would always suffer more than many other economies. But these are learning points, these are opportunities for us to restructure the country, diversify from extractives, go into more production, buy local, produce local, do things that make sense such that we can become more resilient. Okay, very interesting. So it's not like, some people will be like, we have a spiritual problem. Fast and pray. We don't.
It's not. So no. It's a worldwide thing that has then gone ahead to affect us in a much bigger way than we expected.
Correct, yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, so you've talked about other things. You said basically generally improving like people's lives, right? And people's lives have really been impacted. Let me tell you a very interesting story. I was driving the other day and I saw akara on the roadside and I was like, it's been a while. And I said, okay, fine. I have 500 naira. I'm going to buy 200 naira akara, which is worst case because I'm on the island, right? Worst case, I'll get 10 because that's 200. Why did I get there? And the babe was like, he's 4 for 200. So you mean that one akara is 500 naira? I said, sorry, excuse me. And I'm just like, this is me that I have a car. I'm complaining. how are other people taking these things, right? So let's talk about that practically, because my people are just like, we don't really care about the big English, sustainable, subsidy, kinikon, and stimulus package. We don't know that. Like, baseline, how are you going to make my akara 20 naira? Because 50 naira for an akara is a lot of money, for God's sake. How am I going to be able to afford the regular things, like without fainting or having to sell my kidney? How is that going to happen?
I think yes, I mean, and you're right. It's not just akara; it's bread.
It's water.
It's water. It's toilet roll. It's everything, right? And part of it is just that we're importing inflation, right? So one of the ways that that the administration has outlined is import substitution. One of the ways that the administration has outlined is import substitution. So making sure that we are actually producing more and we're more self-sufficient, so that, you're not getting hit by the double whammy of, the global economy and the instability of the naira impacting everything in your economy. So that's one of the ways. In fact, if you grow your capacity and diversify your capabilities, and you're able to improve your agricultural yields, for example, making sure that you have sufficient fertilizer, which you can produce from gas, and then make sure it gets into the hands of the farmers that can improve their yields, then you're growing beans at a scale that allows the Mama Alakara to sell it to you at a price that makes sense and is affordable for you, and inflation is better controlled that way. Okay.
My second question is, I'm sure people, and guys, also, you can please be a part of this conversation, okay? You can tweet at us at Cool FM Nigeria, and later on during the course of this conversation, I will open up the phone lines as well for you, so that you can ask questions as well, because some of you are like, tell me, you're not asking what I need. Oh my God, this girl. You can ask your own questions yourself, or you can just WhatsApp me, actually, 0908-826-5016. Okay, so Twitter is at Cool FM Nigeria. WhatsApp is 0908-826-5016, and I'll open up the phone lines towards the end of the show so that you can ask questions as well. So let's move on to something else that affects young people, is jobs. Right now, the rate of unemployment has increased, and people are at home. People are sending me DMs all the time. Auntie TaymiB, afternoon, ma. I can do driving work. I can do house girl work. I'm just like, but you're a graduate. What are you talking about? It seems like, people cannot get jobs. What's the plan for that?
So, as we said earlier, right, there's a set plan, okay, long-term plan to diversify the economy. As we diversify the economy and do producing infrastructure, grow the economy, these will create jobs. So, for example, let me take the agriculture sector. Like my colleague said, we're importing inflation. Even what we eat, we import. Back in the day, when we had independence, we had 15% urban population. Now we have 50%. Everybody wants to be in Lagos. Everyone wants a suit and tie job. But we have to go back to the basics sometimes, okay? But not carry a hoe and a cutlass, but mechanized farming, manufacturing, value addition. Our gas today is being flared. How do we convert that gas into fertilizer, petrochemicals, make plastics? We import every single thing. As we begin to convert these resources into commodities, okay, not just for ourselves, but for Africa in general, because we have the ECOWAS Treaty and the ACFA Treaty that allows us to move goods and services across the borders. We can become the manufacturing hub for West Africa, for example. We have half the population already. With the big border of West Africa and Africa, if we do the right things, people, people buy from us, and then our country will strengthen. There'll be job creation. It'll be Gucci, like you guys say.
Gucci, I like we guys, lol, I love it. But you said something interesting. People want to come to the city.
Correct.
But isn't that because where they're coming from just doesn't work? That's why they're running away. Like, if I'm from Ondo State, I'm from Lagos, by the way, true and true. I never shut up about it. But if I'm from Ondo State, right, and Ondo State was popping off, like there was Zoya there and I could like turn up, I wouldn't want to come to Lagos. Mm-hmm. And obviously we're not talking about a state campaign. This is not Lagos. This is Nigeria. Mm-hmm. What is the plan to also make all these other states function so people are not heavily relying on places like Port Harcourt and Lagos and so and so?
Correct. You're absolutely right. You know, you need to grow productive capacity in those states, and make sure that you identify what their own comparative advantage is. You mentioned Ondo State. Ondo State manufactures quite a bit of cocoa. So you're not going to find everybody being interested in being a cocoa farmer, but you know they may be interested in being agri processors, right? And you know, deploying technology to distribute chocolate, and Nigeria made chocolate. You know, you look at Pedro, for example, right? That, you know, the very nice gin that is locally made by a young lady.
Yeah.
You know,
I like the way she said gin.
Yeah,
It is.
I
It is
love
somehow.
It
It
is
is.
gin.
But it's also morning, so we can't really talk about alcohol.
Okay,
But
sorry.
that thing that people,
That thing,
exactly.
okay,
We all know
right,
what
right,
it is.
right,
Wink,
yeah.
wink, wink.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, there's much more capacity for, you know, to unleash the creativity of our young generation and employ them in different aspects of our, you know, whether it's everything from packaging to petrochemicals. Yes, you have people who want to, you can create people, you can start manufacturing, as Ifeanyi was mentioning, you can grow your manufacturing capacity downstream a lot of the resources that we have, and make those jobs attractive in different regions, not just the urban area. But you also have to cater to the fact that, you know, the trend for urbanization will continue. You can slow it down, but most people will move into cities, and Lagos is projected to be one of the biggest. They want it to be a mega city by 2050. That's going to happen. And what do? You make sure you're investing in the physical and social infrastructure, whether that comes to education. The Tinubu&Shettima plan outlines, you know, programs for student loans, vocational training, making sure that we have the right skills for the jobs of the next generation, and making sure that, you know, they talked about the outline plans for industrial revolution, for the fourth industrial revolution, making sure that we are tapping into the capabilities and we're investing in the resources that are required to yield to really yield this demographic dividend to bear fruit for us.
And I love the way we've just slowly segued into education. Education is a thing that it's a very, you know, touchy subject for a lot of young people, especially people who listen to this, because a lot of students were stuck at home for a very long time. For 8 months. People had babies, by the way, in case you had no idea. Like, people had babies while they were, if you check TikTok, what they were just having babies. And like, you can't blame them. What else are you going to do? Because if you try to get a job while you are on break, technically you can't, because you're in that middle point where you haven't graduated and everybody's looking for 78 years experience. And it's like, how? So you can't even get a job. And then what do you do in between, right? Have babies, apparently. So there's that. But there was this whole gap, right? And apart from the gap, the quality of education, people complain about it. They're like, there's too many people, there's not enough teachers. Even then, we're using textbooks that are like 100 years old. What's the way forward? And this is university. We've not even touched secondary school or primary school and public education. What's the plan for that?
So I think if you go to the manifesto, the Tinubu&Shettima administration understands that these issues do exist. It's unfortunate that they do exist, but the plan is to completely reform the educational sector, okay, ensure that we begin to use fit-for-purpose curriculum, okay, we solve the issues, okay, there are issues between ASU and the government, it's a misalignment, okay, if there's one person who understands how to get everybody on the same page, is Ajuluchukwu. Tinubu. We have seen Lagos State and how Lagos State has been run, and transition and succession planning, and all parties and all stakeholders being involved and coming together as one. So we have no doubt that when the incoming government comes into power, they will solve the issues of the disconnect between the ASU, the educational sector, and the Ministry of Education. The reforms will come, okay, reforming curriculum, reforming a total reorientation, because most of the issues we have an orientation issue, the way we learn, okay. We have kids right now who are going to compete in the global world. Today, we hold meetings with people in Japan and Singapore and the US from our Zooms and our teams and all. We have to have people who understand what they understand and who can compete with them. And the only way is to reform the educational system completely.
Okay. You mentioned something very interesting, and you basically use Lagos as a case study with his time as governor of the state. Somebody recently said that the only reason why Lagos works and it's like still hanging by a thread is basically because most of Lagos is private. A lot of things are private. So what do you say to that? Maybe it's not a him thing. Maybe it's not a Tinubu thing. Maybe it's just the fact that Lagos is just somehow running on its own. And a lot of it is heavily based on private sector participation.
And they would be right, and that's the vision of Tinubu's government. That's what he did in Lagos and what he's hoping to replicate at the federal. That's what they will be right. That's what he did at a state level, which is create an enabling environment for private sector to create opportunities for Nigerians. You do that. We've done that in Lagos, and they're right, and that's what you would like to see: a government that focuses on enabling investments, enabling job creation by the private sector, focuses on the regulations that are required, improving security, making sure that the infrastructure that the private sector needs to deliver on its objectives and deliver returns are in place. And that you do that not only in a Lagos state on a regional level, that you move that to that you scale that up at a federal level. So yes, it's not you don't look for government to do everything, not to invest in roads and create jobs and build factories. Otherwise, it's not the most efficient use, and that's not what their core competence is. Their core competence is ensuring that they have the policies that enable and attract investments that create the jobs that we have in Lagos, and hopefully you can replicate that at a federal level.
I mean, I understand that. I think a lot of people understand that, but I think other people's fear as well. Again, the rhetoric, especially during the NSAS movement, and we have to talk about that at some point. But there was a time when people were saying, oh yeah, we need to go to this certain hotel on that place because it's owned by this person, and the whole toll gate itself is owned by this person. And I think some people fear that with more private sector participation, even though it might make things a bit better, yes, we now have this road, is he going to then like low-key own everything in Nigeria? Because that's a lot of people's fear as well. So what do you say to that?
So I'll say people make assumptions.
Yeah.
Okay. Post NSAS, there were publications and verifiable publications that explained the ownership of some of these assets. These are private sector driven assets that have helped to develop Lagos. Okay. People fly in, people want to stay in a good hotel. The Orient is owned by a Chinese group. It's not owned by Bola Tinubu. Okay. The toll gate is an infrastructure that was built with funding from Macquarie and a consortium of banks. The government bought it back as a social intervention at some point. That toll road itself opened up Lagos. Imagine we had only 2 lanes from here to Aja. It would take us 2 days to get there. So instead of people focusing on the good that the enabling environment has gotten, it's easy to tag, they call it give the dog a bad name so you can hang the dog. Okay? It's Bola Tinubu does not own the toll gate, does not own Oriental. Instead, he's put in infrastructure or invited investors actually. Because at the time this whole road was built, right, it was a time when Nigeria wasn't as attractive. Yet they raised the amount of money to build arguably the first commercial toll road in Africa. That's a plus. Okay. I'm gonna play some music because this is the #1 hit music station. And guys, you can tweet at Cool FM Nigeria, and you can call as well. I'll open up the phone lines later on in the show. But before you call, you can also send me a WhatsApp 0908-826-5016. Let me play some Rihanna. Riri is back, people. It's Lift Me Up on your #1 hit music station, 96.9 Cool FM.
Lift me up. Hold me down.
Yeah, we're also here to talk about things that concern us, how you live your daily life and what's going to happen come sometime next year. Is your life going to change or is it not? Well, there are some fantastic people in the studio, and we've been talking about how maybe your life is going to change. Welcome back. Before we left, we were sort of talking about, we were segueing into security, and I think security is a very, very, very big deal. A lot of people are very yesterday I was having a very funny conversation that I probably cannot share on air now that I think about it, but it's still, the theme was security, right? A lot of people are scared. There's kidnappings. It's like, I've wanted to go on a train to Ibadan, but I'm just like, look, if I get kidnapped, nobody's paying anything. Is that going to be the end for me? Like, all these things are questions on people's minds. What's the plan for security?
So, security is a very big issue.
Yeah.
And like even when I gave you the 4 pillars, we started from safety and security. It just shows how important that is to us. Now, I'm happy you talked about the fact that you were going from Lagos to Ibadan, but in Lagos you feel safe.
Depends on the time of day, where I'm at, the traffic light, the number. Honestly, it's not that easy. Like there's sometimes I do, depending on the time of day. There's sometimes I don't, and I have privilege, by the way. Okay. I'm very, very aware that I'm privileged because I have a car. There is no chance that I might enter like a one chance bus. But people's reality, they have to do like several checkpoints before they even go from point A to B. That's the reality of a lot of people out there. So it's me. I'm actually middle. Some people are below middle. So I'm talking about them. Like, how can I get from school home and I just be like, I don't have to pray 78 times in between?
Okay, so the big issue is a security reform. Yeah. Okay, understanding what the issues are, how to protect life and property, how to protect our sovereign territory. We know that the issues of banditry, the issues of terrorism, these are issues that can be solved and will be solved based on particular restructure of the architecture. Okay, we need more human beings, human capital to man locations. We need to adapt to technology, use it to solve security as can be used. We need to also restructure the police and the armed forces in a way where it's attractive for able-bodied people to join and bring their intellect and support the polity. Okay, all these reforms are in the manifesto. Okay, so if read, you would understand that there's deliberate action to provide security over a country is important, but also very tasking. We've spent money, but not enough money is being deployed into security, and that's why we have a few gaps here and there. The idea is to work on the foundation that's been laid, okay, and ensure that we use more state-of-the-art technology and reforms to get us where we need to be. Allow Olu to add a few words to that if she wants to.
Yes, I think you've hit all the right notes, Ifeanyi, which is just really that, we and the key one is that there is no absence of crime. So you talked about, yes, Lagos, depending on the time, but you will find that is true for London, that's true for New York, that's true for many of the other places that our audience travel to, right? Urban cities tend to be tend to have higher crime rates. But still relatively safe compared. And to his point around, the need for investments in technology, in, salaries, in improving the, and a hearts and mind campaign as well, bring a level of professionalism to different parts of the security apparatus, that they are fully invested in the dream of what Nigeria could be and their role in it. That you pay higher salaries and you recruit more people, and you can only do that if you've increased your ability to generate income as a government and spend money on that, because that is a sector that you do not have private investment to. It is a prerequisite for you to find the money on yourself, generate the income yourself to make those investments, and they've outlined different ways in which they will do that under their manifesto.
Okay. Security is a very big deal, as I said. And I think we're going to go into also like protecting people's freedoms. And, we've had very, very tough times with the people that are supposed to secure us, especially as young people. The whole NSAS movement started because a group of people felt like the people that are supposed to protect you don't have your back. Instead, they pick on you because of the way you look or the way you seem to appear. And there was the whole NSAS movement. And part of it was really young people just saying the things that you said. Really, pay people more. Because if you pay them more, perhaps maybe they won't be extorting us on the streets and doing all of these things. Now, the question is, this is the same party, right? What is going to be different? How can we believe that this is going to be done? Because at the end of the day, there hasn't been much, especially to show young people that yes, you do have our back when it comes to this thing.
Okay, I think that it's true that it's unfortunate what happened at the NSAS, okay, but I don't think that's a reflection of the party or a reflection of the leader, Bola Tinubu. I think even during the time, as an elder statesman, civilian at the time, he came out to support and empathize with the NSAS movement, and he gave his support and he gave assurances that this wouldn't happen again. What we need to do, like we said, is to reform the police force, the armed forces, where the people that have your back should have your back. It's the job of the government to provide security for its people, and that's the target, that's the goal. It's non-negotiable. I think with the reforms that will come into place, we won't have the issues that we've had in the past.
Okay. We also, I think that a lot of people are also interested in freedoms. Everybody has certain freedoms of expression.
Very important.
And this party banned Twitter, guys. They banned Twitter. What was that about? So it's like, what's next? Are you going to take away my TikTok? I'm barely hanging. I'm hanging my thread. The only thing that's keeping me alive right now is TikTok. How does this, again, to the same point, that's the thing. They'll be like, oh, it's the same party. You want us to vote for the same thing. So you guys will take away everything that we love. What's the plan to protect people's freedoms?
So every crisis is an opportunity to learn and grow. So you're right. One of the key learnings or outcomes of NSARS was that there are things that we need to do better. There's a lack of understanding of, the demographic of the future, right? And quite a few people you need a broader-based, inclusive government in every aspect. So, and you need that demographic informing and shaping different policies. So, you need a police force that understands that everybody with a laptop is not a criminal, right? Because they're from that demographic and those people are their friends and their mates. And they're equally educated, and more importantly, there is no major disparity in terms of living standards where you feel the need to then extort this person. So that's one of the key learnings and outcomes of that. That sometimes you go to the brink and make some wrong calls, and you in the interest of overriding interest of national security, you make some calls and you retract and you take the learnings from that and go forward. And one of the key learnings from that going forward is that you need to just, that there needs to be a balance between, the right balance needs to be struck between freedom of speech and, more importantly, as they found out that there are different ways of circumventing that. You can't really ban Twitter with VPN, right? So a lot of so you didn't really achieve the outcome, and so there were learnings from that. That will be taken forward to make sure that you're engaging people productively, you're being transparent about the policies, you're communicating very clearly with stakeholders, you're taking their ideas on board, you're inviting them to execute and implement their own ideas within your administration. That's the differentiation going forward.
Okay. I think we also need to talk about health. Health is a very big issue. And last time I checked, there's supposed to be one doctor to 5,000 Nigerians. Like, doctors are leaving. They're like the head of the Jaguar squad. Like, if there was a football club, they would be the captain. They're just going like every day. I was like, I'm gone, Otilo, and they're gone. And it's like, what is left? Again, people my age are like, oh man, this travel blogger is out again for health reasons. And it's like, okay, you seem to not even care that people here can't afford to fly out to do a medical health check. We're stuck here. And then I have to stay in a queue for 24 hours, probably not going to make it, right? What's the plan for that? 1, to get more doctors. 2, to even pay them well. 3, just so that we have more things so that people are not dying for no reason.
So you're right. It's unfortunate, okay? And these are part of the things that are painful even to Bola Tinubu. He's somebody who's taken health very, very seriously. In Lagos State, for example, when he was governor and post his time, having set the foundation for growth. You can see with the upgrade of the General Hospital to Lasut, which means more facilities, more teaching capabilities. With the renal center that was built, okay, it's the first in West Africa, okay. Health is a sector that is not taken for granted at all. Now, the Jaguar syndrome and the doctors leaving is a function of several things, but it's only natural based on the way the world is. If you look at the population, average population of many of the countries that are attracting our people, it is natural that they want to attract young people because they're aging populations. So whether it's Canada, they have a population issue, land size population, whether it's the UK, they don't have as much qualified people. Now, our job as an administration, meaning the Tinubu&Shettima administration, is to create the incentive to keep our people at home. And those incentives are being worked on. We can't say everything here today, but there's a plan to educate, create, and incentivize doctors to stay local and to help with the economy.
Okay.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. Especially in the health sector, you feel that impact. And Ifeanyi is right that the demographic dividend is also one that is, you need to find ways and develop policies that allow you to keep and retain talent here, but also export people. Jackba is not necessarily wrong. As he said, the aging population of the countries that, the aging population in Canada, in UK, and in the US and many other countries means that they are going to be looking for countries like Nigeria to attract talent because they're not, their population is aging and they need younger folks to work to service the social investments that are required for those older folks. So it's natural. What the challenge is though that we're not creating enough doctors, enough nurses, so that you have the natural attrition that into Canada and exportation, which you have in every other country.
Yeah.
Immigration is worldwide, but that we don't have sufficient doctors being created, sufficient nurses being created, so that we're able to retain some here and export some. And it's the broad-based investment in human capital development and making sure that our universities function and are churning out thousands, millions of doctors so that we have sufficient staff to stay here, service the economy, as well as the ones who want to export, who want to be exported.
Okay. This all sounds really interesting. I think another thing that is really heavier on a lot of young people's minds is infrastructure and things like housing. Recently, there was a tweet that went viral, and it was basically, I'm going to break it down for you. So this person says, imagine average salary is 100K, which is not, right? It's less. Minimum wage, we know how much it is, right?
Correct.
100K. Let's say in average house, Lagos as a case study. This is not the case all around Nigeria. Maybe average house, like home, right? Which means it's not just a thing, it's not just one wood and one thing. It's say 50M, right? How does one person with an average salary of 100K buy that house? Like, how long will it take them to buy that house? And people, obviously, you can already do the math. It's going to be a long time.
Yep.
And that's the case. I feel like if you're not doing anything illegal, you probably can't buy your first house until maybe like 40 or maybe 50. And that's based on hustle and grind, hustle and bustle, right? So what's the plan to make people landlords? Because my dad is there like, before I was 30, I had built my house. I'm like, shut up. This is not the case. We're not the same. Do you know how much the dollar is? What is the plan to make, first of all, to just increase the number of houses that are available? Because apparently we don't even have enough of those, even though there seem to be lots of empty homes all over Lagos. Everything is luxury here, even though the toilet is in the parlor. Like, everything is the same. How do I, as a young person, buy my house, for God's sake, in this Nigeria we are? What's the plan for that? Also, roads. Infrastructure is everything. Roads, all over the place. Look, if I send you a picture of where I live, you'll be like, no way, not this person on glasses lives here. But I do. So, what's the plan for that?
Yeah.
So I think it's a multifaceted approach to solving the problem. Okay, it's a problem that is very heavy on our hearts. When I mean the manifesto led by the Tinubu&Shettima administration. So we have to go to the fundamentals. There are several issues that are making it difficult. One is availability of housing. So we need the government will create what's it called, an enabling environment that allows private sector and low-income house investors coming to build. So there are companies that we know who are building, even Nigerian originated, who are building low-income houses in Morocco and in Senegal. Okay, why not here? If we create the opportunities here, they will build here. Secondly, the Federal Mortgage Bank is supposed to come up with some structure where they can provide credit, long-term credit, 30, 35-year credit that supports people from to own houses.
Okay.
Thirdly, the cost of housing can go down because of construction if you produce all the materials locally. So it's attacking it from different angles but achieving it. At the end of the administration's time, we assure you there will be low-income housing for all.
Okay, this is the next thing we're talking about. This is Phils and David O. The song is Electricity. When we come back, they'll tell us what the plan for electricity is.
Electricity, vibes on a frequency, till infinity.
Essentially, the plan for power is to make sure that that you improve reliability. That's the main thing, right? Making sure that when we say you're going to deliver power, I think most people are happy to pay for it. They just don't trust that it will be delivered. Yeah. So what do you do to make sure that, and it's a chicken and egg story. I need capital to invest so that you trust that I can deliver deliver electricity for 20 to 24 hours, or start growing from 24 to 24 hours. And in order for me to get that investment, I need to get a commercial tariff. Yeah. So I need you to pay what the market needs me to pay so that I can make that investment and return it to, and make sure that I'm delivering service to you. And, it's that trust issue that needs to be worked on, and it's a gradual process. And one of the first ways that they're doing it that has been outlined in the manifesto is to really grow this service, the service-based tariff model, to make sure that that we start to liberalize that market so that you charge the tariff that you can, that is required to unlock the investments to improve power availability to those segments. And if you're able to deliver on your promise there, you start to build trust in that system, and people can then start, and then people, the next band is able to say, okay, I've seen that when people pay more, they get more power. And so I'm happy to do that. And you do it in a phased approach, build back trust that way, but start increasing the tariff so that you're able to attract the investments that you need to make the investments to improve the reliability of power. You need to do that on the distribution end. You also need to do that on the primary sources of energy, whether that's gas, whether that's hydro. You need them to be able to pay that power tariff so that everybody that is investing in that value chain can get a return on their money.
Okay. I would like to open up the phone lines. I will also, you can call me now to ask questions. Please be respectful. Remember that we are on live radio. Please, no swearing, none of that stuff. 0700 969 969 969. That's the number to call so that you can ask questions. So while your questions are coming in, I'll ask my own question, and I think it's the most important question, and it's the question of trust. You've said a lot of fantastic things here, like honestly, if it was as it is that you are saying it will happen, I mean, wow, right? But a lot of people say a lot of nice things, right? It's like a guy tells you, I'm going to give you the world. In fact, Aladdin said it, I will show you the world, and he showed us Shege. That's what the film he was. He lied. And it's like, so yeah, you're saying a lot of stuff, but how can I trust that you're going to do this, right? A lot of young people feel like they can't trust the leaders because they have seemed to let us down at every turn. You can't trust a lot of things. Like, there's so many things that have a huge question mark. How are you going to get our trust? How are we assured that what you're saying is what's going to happen?
Okay, so I think the only way to gain trust is to perform. Okay, they say that the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So far, so good. We've seen what has been done by Tinubu and Shettima in their respective states. We've seen him grow Lagos State. We've seen him lay the foundation for growth. It's continuity, and creating that foundation is very, very important. People say, things like in the UK or in Dubai or in Canada, these are older countries, okay, with sustained development, and that's why they're where they are today. We have to ask ourselves, what do we need today? We need leadership. See, anybody can come in and write a good manifesto. It is implementation. It is, have they done it before? It's very, very, very easy to say, I'll do X and I'll do Y. I will show you the world. Mm-hmm. Okay? But the fact is, have you shown me the world before? Mm-hmm. We've seen Lagos State. We've seen the infrastructure that has been built. We've seen governance structures. We've seen security within Lagos State. No matter what anybody tells you, I lived in Lagos State all my life. Under military rule, when soldiers were in country, on the roads, I was less secure than I am today. Okay, and this is because of hard work that men and women have done behind the scenes under BAT's leadership. So it's leadership that we need. If we have the right leadership and create the right environment, all this will be delivered. We have to trust ourselves.
Okay.
You're absolutely right about trust. It's so difficult to earn, as women, when you're being toasted. You're always like, is this guy telling the truth?
Exactly.
How
you
do I
have to pray about it.
You have to pray about it.
You have to go to so many people.
You call your girlfriend.
Exactly.
He said this. How do I know whether he's saying he's telling the truth? And in some ways, there are parallels, right, between these candidates. One is promising heaven and earth, and he's just toasting, and it just seems so exciting, and he's the new kid on the block. He's the guy that just landed from America, right? And then the other one, and Tinubu just looks like someone who he's been here before. How do I trust him? Maybe I should try this shiny new thing that is on the horizon. Maybe that'll be different. Let me just try this different thing. And I think the truth is, trust is very, very difficult to earn. And, it is difficult to earn. And so who's the person who understands that and knows that he's not going to, who doesn't overpromise you, but over delivers, right? So you don't have, unrealistic expectations. He tells you what can be done because he has experience delivering it. And so you really need to pay close attention and be a little bit more discerning. It's the same way that you're always saying. So you can't just listen to what you're being told. You actually have to watch people have done and what they are doing. And how do they intend to earn your trust? They know that it has to be earned. And they're putting their track record forward and saying, look at this. Here is a way that you can predict what I can do, what I've done, and what I'll do in the future.
Okay. The number is 0700 969 969 969. I saw some of you calling. You can call right now. Don't have a lot of time, but we will take some of your questions. So please call in and ask. This is a golden opportunity to ask that thing that's always been on your mind, that you've been tweeting about, you've been talking to your friends about. Now you can ask. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
My name is Anthony from Lekki.
Okay, Anthony, talk to me real quick.
Yeah.
Your question.
So my question, my question is this. Yeah. Now, Tinubu was the person that sold Buhari to us. Do you understand? He came, promised us loans, gave a lot of stories like they will do this, they will help us. So what is the difference between then and now? Then secondly, the NSAS, movement that happened. Quite a lot of people died. A panel was set up by Lagos State. Until today, nobody has owned up. No apology has been made. Nothing has been done. So what is the assurance now that this very government will be different from the same government that was sold to us? Because whatever idea they have now, why didn't he share it with Buhari? Because he is the same person that sold this man to us.
All right. So thank you so much, Anthony, so they can answer your question. Thank you so much for calling. Okay, answer.
So, Anthony, thank you very much for your question. Again, NSAS was a very unfortunate situation. And like my colleague Olu said, these were learning opportunities. Lessons have been learned. And what's important is, what do we do with those lessons? It's time to take those lessons and materialize them into action plans that would help create a better Nigeria. As per selling Buhari, a country grows step by step. At the time, we required change, and radical change, and that came. Now we have renewed hope, and it's time for us to build on the foundations that have been created by that change, and now create sustainable roots where the country can grow from, if that answers your question.
All right, let's quickly get another question. So you can quickly call 0700 969 969 969, and I can take another question. I think, unfortunately, we probably have just one more question. Time for only one more question, actually, or maybe no question at all, to be fair. I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a very interesting conversation, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if people can build that trust and have that renewed hope as you have said it to us today. Thank you so much, Olu, for coming, and thank you so much, Ifeanyi, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.